They'll be calling you a radical. This will be one of the most important videos I ever did. And I'll slow down on this, and I'm going to talk cancer, 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 cancer. I'm going to talk survival, 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 survival. Now here in Utah, this hat, when I lost all my hair the first time in the chemo unit, quarantined at LDS East 8, it's acute bone marrow transplant center, a red tent in there, hardcore. And by the way, there's plenty of videos you can watch all over. You can watch my path and journey. It's right there. Go to my front page. There's videos in there of me fighting for my life, sucked down to nothing, struggled. My Facebook, I put up this picture before I got cancer, after, within weeks. It's dramatic. I mean, I was looking at it. I was in incredible condition. I mean, I'm a plasterer. I think I'm in incredible physical condition when I got cancer. Seems like that's who it likes to kill and get. As in Utah, this is the first hat that a woman knitted for me in there. I love this thing. I love this thing. But I have lots of those, by the way. I have literally hundreds of gifts, sent cards. Them all came into the East State Bone Marrow Transplant Center, mowed down. I made these up for my own funeral. She know I did videos for my own funeral. I was sent home to die. I told it was over by multiple doctors. From one day perfectly healthy to go home with hospice and die. We call it in Utah the Utah smiley face. You know, which in those days, Carol Gallagher, who came from New York, wrote American Ground Zero. Richard Miller wrote Under the Cloud, which is a brilliant, brilliant book if you never read it. You know, so many of this great people that came here and fought Edward Abbey, you know, all his work, the Monkey Wrench Gang, Wallace Stegner, all his great work, literature. This is literature. And so we call it the Utah smiley face. Thyroid cancer is epic here. You know, 350 open air tests. We all knew that. We call it the red dust in Utah. We all know it. We all know it. People live in Southern. Come to Moab and train. Our hospital's so full of people from southern and central Utah when it's sparsely populated. A lot of them are marquee, incredible athletes that come there to train. The red dust. If you're in Europe and you're traveling to the national parks in this beautiful, beautiful, incredible place we call Utah, wear your mask. The red dust. We all know. We all know, Utahns. They call it the Chernobyl necklace. Well, I want you to be able to, I hope you can see this. A young activist, a young man in the South, I believe New Orleans, when my central line was hanging out of me and I used to, you know, my wound, whatever, I used to call it the bullet wound, he named it the Fukushima fish hook. Now, if you have a cancer where they put a central line in your neck or in your jugular vein, it's on. Now, I want to really talk about this. The alternative to being open to cut it out, which we don't, does not work. Now, breast cancer, it works, of course. I mean, how horrible is that? We just got 10 million, so, you know, our pink, which I'm all supportive of that, cancer survival. I'm all supportive, but why don't we go after the people that give it? And it's very clear, the data is very clear, what gives us cancer in our younger lives. Now, and if you can't have this conversation, you're a fool. Then don't have this conversation. And like Fukushima. Go ahead, because we're all going to die. And the vast, vast majority of us are not going to go from birth to old. Come in young, weak, and vulnerable, go out young, old, weak, and vulnerable. No, something's going to happen on the way to that place. They're going to throw a nuclearism, benzene, oil spill in Santa Barbara, freaking flag in our face. And you're going to die young. You know, there's so many things we're up against. The number one killer of children in this country for a long, long time was automobile accidents. Then, I mean, what a culture we live in. Then it was gunshot wounds. You know, as of 2012, it's cancer. We have a cancer, not pandemic, epidemic. That's CDC themselves says it. They know. They know. So you're gonna deal with this. And everybody says, oh, there's a cure. No, there's not. You know how many people die of cancer a day? It's heartbreaking, heartbreaking, heartbreaking disease. You know, even if it's just some breast cancer, oh, we could say when they cut your breasts off, rip your prostate out. It's heartbreaking. So many of us know. We've watched so many of our loved ones pass from this incredible disease. I'm going to talk about this because I really do have a PhD in this. I don't eat, sleep, drink it. I sleep with it. So I got, you know, me ranting and raving Fukushima activism for years and years. My father died of this brutal, brutal disease. He died of acute blastic leukemia. You know, Leonard Bird wrote Folding Paper Claims. He was the last of that group, and he was support. He wasn't the human lab rat guys that were right at the trench, the Special Forces guys. There was 40,000 original Special Forces guys. They were put human lab rat, they cut their tonsils out, they human experimented on them. Tell her, Lawrence, at Livermore, it's fact. I mean, it's well-documented fact. And that's who these people are, just like they did to the USS Reagan. They're human lab rats, that's all. America has a long history of Agent Orange. They have a long history, they don't care. You know, so it's just like white-collar crime. We won't go after the nuclear cartel, that's why I'm going to Vienna. I'm going there, their so-called win. The International Olympic Committee, the IAEA, all these people are the exact identical same people. You want to talk, oh, the so-called, no. You can get in. They'll let you in. Ask Barack Obama. You know, ask Bill and Hillary Westinghouse, uranium mine, let's make a deal, Clinton. You know, the Bush crime family, they'll let you in. They'll let you in, say, here's a bunch of money. Ask JC, you know, and look up his record label. Ask any of these musicians, ask any of these artists. Ask Yoko Ono and her banker freaking father. You know, you do know who her father was. He was the Royal Empire, evil, you know, thrown in with freaking Hitler's banker. You know, I mean, these stories are so right in your face. Nuclear's cancer. Period. Nuclear. This is the greatest organized syndicate criminals in the history of humanity. We have Federal RICO Acts. It's just like these two guys that set up these cancer charities. Now we find out they're BYU right here. There's a young woman right here who raised money for child cancer and lied. Just a young contemporary woman. She's in prison. Why don't they go under these people? Because there's an unwritten rule in America. There's an unwritten rule, and this is the Bush, Clinton, Obama rule. White-collar crime is not against the law. White-collar crime is encouraged. The Mormons, I mean, it's a big-time gig here. You know, bankers, we'll fine you $5 billion, no jail after you scam $55 billion. That's incentive telling you, do it, do it. You know, we only fine you 10% of what you make. These guys, 108. We have Federal RICO Acts. That's how we broke up mobs. I'll guarantee they'll use it in Texas on those guys. Which, you know, let's talk about the real mobs. Ain't those guys. Let's talk about the real mobs. The nuclear cartel, the bankers. We won't use Federal RICO Acts. Why not? Why? It's an unwritten rule. We don't put them in prison. And, you know, is it eugenics? Come on, look up John Holdren. Look him up. Look him up. That's the head of the Obama Science and Technology team from Berkeley. Look him up. I want you to look him up and just simply look him up. What he wrote, his books, his bets, his good. That's the guy in charge of the cleanup of food. There is no cleanup. I was going through my old data yesterday. June 14th, Flag Day, when number 4 blew up, and it's right there on video. And I did a video that day and showed the video. You know, there was a writer in Hawaii, believe it or not, that put it out. But no, that don't matter. We can argue about 4-1. Here's the video proof that it blew up on June 14, 2011. It blew up again in July of 2012. I did videos on every one of them. I have them all well documented. They're all right there, but people don't, just like cancer, they don't want to talk about it. So I want to talk about my cancer and my Fukushima fish hook, as he named it. By the way, he went to Livermore when we protested. Okay, so in June of 2011, I'm ranting raving, this is going to give you, my earwax went solid. And now I know what it feels like to be deaf. What a horrible thing to be deaf. And now we know that radical change in earwax is a sign. I had a lot of these signs that I had a radical cancer. Sudden drop in libido. Numbness in arm or hands. Diarrhea. I thought I had, you know, I'd been drinking too much dark beer that time of year, you know. And I thought that's all it was, you know, they cleared my ears out. But then I told everybody I got a little tickle in my stomach. That's all, just a little tickle. Nothing. Then boom, it hit me. Mine pushed out of my bone marrow and presented a tumor. It's called de novo. It's usually almost always a death sentence. And it gets misdiagnosed, and they operate, they cut it out, and it just seeds it and just go. They biopsy, it just cuts it loose. The worst thing you can do is have surgery on, especially in men, in the lower right mesentery. I thought I had food poisoning. Right here. You know, I had been lecturing all over. I'd been working on my PhD, you know, doing so much of this work, and then boom, you know, it's going to give you leukemia. You know, it's like it was embedded in my subconscious, which it probably was. And it was horrible. I'm a tough guy. I've had a severed tongue before. That scar, I mean, there's a critical broken back. I've had a lot of events in my life. I've really, my uncles always say, this ain't nothing. Kevin's had life and death situations so many times. I was in incredible condition, and I thought it was food poisoning. Go to my quack D up here, this piece of shit doctor. The same doctor didn't set my nose properly. He's a rat. I had lost my insurance because of my broken back. I'd fallen off a roof in 2005 and severed my tongue and broke my back. Very, very critical. And my insurance was wiped out. But you guys have watched it. I turned $3,000 into $700,000 here in my portfolio, my stock portfolio. I had bought a bunch of Tesla. I had shorted silver at 47. I shorted gold at 1900. I'd done a lot of things. I bought some Apple derivatives. I won't buy this. You know, the only stock I bought was Tesla's because I felt they were responsible. I won't buy these usury stocks. I'll play the derivative on it, which has nothing to do with the stock. You know, has nothing to do. And so I had money. But they, you know, no insurance. They sent me home over and over. I kept fighting. Finally, the cat scanned me. I was watching Steve Jobs' interview with Isaacson. By the way, Isaacson is a fraud. Steve Jobs lived with pancreatic cancer for 6 years. Nobody does that. He knew. Steve Jobs knew. One of my doctors was one of Steve Jobs' doctors. I have a whole team like he did. He thought he was flying in team after team. They threw the kitchen sink after him. You know, one of the richest men in the world. They killed him. So finally, the cat scanned me. I'm watching that interview in the emergency room, and they're like, I'll never forget, it was a woman doctor finally. She comes in and she's crying. It's a Friday. And we know now that so many of these cancers are diagnosed on Friday, like 80% of them. Why? Because people know they've got a acute situation. They can sense it inside themselves. They don't want to wait over the weekend and go in an emergency room on the weekend because they know what emergency rooms are on the weekend or night. We know they're a disaster, they're a joke, and they're butcher factories. We know that. And this one here in Ogden, Utah, the Quack Bee is the worst of the worst. They're a butcher factory that should be freaking sued to the 10th power. They're a hellhole. That hospital's a hellhole. And it's, you know, $1.4 billion thing. They kill more people than Hitler in there. So she says, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I've been there for a long time. She says, we've been talking, you know, oncologists. They have an oncologist on call. You're plumb full of, I had a tumor right here. I had a small tumor, and then I had what we call bowel looping, tumors that wrap around my lower bowel. She says, it's bad. You have a bad cancer, and we're admitting you now. So up to my room. This has been going on for, you know, a couple hours. I've been in there. So I get up there, and there's a guy that meets me right there. I'm just by myself. He meets me at the door. Here I can look out those windows, all those houses I stuck out across out there, and I'm like, you know, right there, my place. I'm right there. And she says, well, we think it's carcinoid cancer. Now, carcinoid cancer is a slow-growth freaking tumor cancer that, you know, a lot of people have tumors they don't even know, but if it's in your liver, it's a death sentence. So first thing, okay, is it in my liver? Don't lie to me. He says, there's a spot on your liver. I think it is. Well, that's a death sentence. Well, Kevin, look, you have all the symptoms. You have dropping libido, you have numbness in the hands. You have this, the earwax thing. This is a severe bad cancer. We know it is. Well, don't lie to me. You're an oncologist. He was young. Don't lie to me. Well, if it's what I think it is, give me your opinion. Maybe by Christmas. Really? I mean, get hit with that truck. You know, I call my daughters. They're broke down, the ones that live here. And another oncologist comes in and tells me about, oh, my wife had stage, she cried, everything. And this fucker, I'd like to knock him out. This Japanese, I've got a list of these fuckers. I told my attorney I'll do the time first. Some lying fuck. They treated me like dog shit in there for several days. Finally, they scoped me. They scoped me and they find an ulcer in my stomach, a hole about that big, which I don't think was an ulcer. I think it was the cancer. And they, you know, they throw me up on the three-way on the freaking drug for the ulcer. And some rat comes in there in the morning on a Sunday morning, Japanese guy. The fuck, there ain't nothing wrong with this slow brother. You need to go home. Okay, good. Fuck, I'll go home. You know, and she looks at the spot, Dr. Taos, and she looked at the spot. She's like, I don't think that's cancer, Kevin, in your liver. I really don't. I think it's a normal spot from a guy your age who drinks, you know, a lot of dark beer, which I drink a lot of dark beer. My blood pressure dropped 60 points the second she told me that. So I believe him like a dumbass. When I knew better. They sent me home. They just attacks again. And I mean, it was like when I went in the emergency, and when I finally got into the hospital, they're like, oh my God, I've never seen a guy your age with a six-pack like that. Your freaking muscles are that. I says, yeah, I've been going through contractions for freaking 9 months. I've lost so much weight, I've got no body fat on me. I'm losing 6-7 pounds a day. You could watch it right on YouTube. I mean, it's destroying me, and it's so painful, it's epic. They don't restrict my diet. I got tumors around my lower bowel. You know, so this goes on. So I go to Ogden Regional, the other hospital. They fill me up with fluid, worst thing could ever, and that's how Warhol died. Almost killed me. Almost killed me. You know, finally they get me in, they biopsied me, which they should have never biopsied me. They went in, got this big piece right over, and then Says, okay, go see the surgeon. Go see the surgeon, a little Indian doctor named Vakara. I will knock that fucking rat out. I'm going to sue these fuckers. You know, I'm going to sue the Justice Department. I've been trying to get an attorney to sue for giving me cancer. We know it's very easily provable that the Department of Energy, the cabal, the nuclear cartel, the greatest syndicated crime fucking family in the human history at Livermore and MIT, the syndicated crime family that is killing us. It's very easy, but these pussy-ass rat fucking attorneys we have in Utah and around thing, they're fucking, you know, they're ballless rats. That's all they are. They're fucking, these attorneys around the United States are ballless rats. And so we finally, so I go in there and he says, oh, no, cat benign. Oh, yay, thank you, God. I says, you know, and he says, no, wait a minute. That's Dr. Taus's biopsy on your stomach, on the ulcer in your stomach. It showed benign. Then he scrolls down, you can see it blinking. He says, oh my God. He says, come here. 1.4 on it. And I says, well, what does that mean? He says, anything over 0.04. You got a 1. He says, that's as live as they get. I'm like, oh no. He says, you only got one hope. I'm going to gut you from here to here. I'm going to cut your whole bowel out of it. And he says, we've got to give it. And I says, will it do it? And he says, well, only one cell. If we don't get it all, one cell can. And I, you know, and I knew because I grew up with a family of doctors who don't even like me. The famous neurosurgeon, that's my uncle. The famous heart surgeon, they're my uncles. Same name. They, you know, they always said, don't ever, oh, my dad, don't ever let them open you unless you're going to die. And I refused the surgery. I says, fuck, how come I haven't seen Dr. Hansen? Vincent Hansen, he's the great oncologist. He's, you know, our family friend. Yeah, how come you haven't? He's right next door. So he scrolls through there and he says, oh, well, this other doctor scheduled an appointment with him tomorrow. This doctor was a prick. And I said, well, I'm not, he says, well, we're doing this Thursday. I do them on Thursdays. Well, I want you in here Thursday. We're going to do it. Fuck you, I told him. I walked out. I was so sick, I finally went home and just passed out on the floor. My brother found me. That's how much pain I was in. Got in to see Vincent the next day. Family friend, you know, Danish from us. He known me since kid. An incredible man. Incredible man. Danish philosophy. I'd had a dream 2 weeks before I got sick, and I was playing I don't play slot machines. I'm playing a slot machine, and this biggest slot machine I've ever seen, this giant thing. And I'm playing it, and I'm playing a little one. I just put it in my pocket. I like some change. I throw the change in, it comes out. It kicks out voucher. Says 1212. I'll never forget. Craziest thing I ever ate. So I take the voucher, and there's this giant, biggest slot machine, and I put it in, and I just play it all one pull. And it came 4, 4, then 4 of these ugly icons. Now I know they're tumors, and at first it spit out 1,000, then 100,000, then 1,000,000, then 10 million, then 100 million. It was the most utopic dream I've ever had in my life. And I've always known Danish philosophy. I've always been in tune with my dreams. I've always been in tune with my subconscious, and I've always followed it. And, you know, I've tried to deny it sometimes in relationships and whatever, but it's always been, that's Danish philosophy. That's my bloodlines. That's my doctors. So, anyway, I get in to see Vincent, and I throw down, I have my stock portfolio. I says, Vincent, don't give me this shit. I have fucking money, blah, 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 blah. He says, Kevin, I know you. I know, you know, I don't care how much money you have, whatever. He says, I'm glad you didn't have that surgery. He says, I've been looking at your case. You know, he was late because he's so overwhelmed. He said, let's bone marrow biopsy. You know, there's a San Diego girl in there that his assistant, she's amazing, she bone marrow biopsied me. They went in there and he says, I'll be calling you in the next 2 days. So he has his secretary call. You get to the LDS Bone Marrow Transplant Center now. His secretary. I'm like, what? You know, I found a YouTube video in the meantime, and this pathologist had said, it was on YouTube, it had 14 views. And it said, lower right mesentery cells, cancer cells in lower right chest man are very hard to diagnose, and he felt that the slicing is so complex that even the best pathologists, for the most part, get it wrong. Now, I'd had a friend named Fred Blair just a few years ago, worked for the railroad, had the exact same thing. They told him it was slow growth, blah, blah, blah. He had different doctors, and it reared back up him on one weekend, and he was dead that weekend. You know, and I see him was losing weight, and I talked to him at my cousin's funeral, and, you know, and he's like, mowed him down. And so I knew so much about this path because of my father's death, because I was an anti-nuclear activist, and I'm the one that brought up to Vincent, what about being de novo? I found these studies online about, I knew that leukemia could present in tumors, and I knew the pathologist got right. And so you know, Silverman argued and argued and argued to this day, you know, well, not to this day, now he knows he was wrong. He's an arrogant prick. Vincent freaking overrode him and says, no. And I said, I'm not going to LDS. That's a dump. He says, yeah, it's under construction. He says, I says, it's been under construction since I was a little kid. I'm not going to that shithole. You know, I've been down to Huntsman. They're frauds. They're fucking rat frauds, the hotel. Our hospital says it perfectly. You want to stay in the hotel, it's like Scripps. You want to stay in the hotel and eat the good food and luxury and die, go ahead. They don't make the top 100. You want to live, you come here. They don't make you comfortable where I go. You know, it's the #1 leukemia unit probably in the world. It's a Danish philosophy physician who organized the best doctor. One of the doctors, Ash, was born right on my day. There's 9 doctors in there. They do Danish philosophy medicine. I go in there at 11, 11, 11, 3 11s. Thus the 33rd soup can. And I'm in so much fucking pain because of the contractions. I've been going through this. I can't, and I'm a tough dude. The pain is so fucking, I can't even tell you. You know, planning your own funeral while you're in that, I mean, that whole scenario for those 30 days was so hard. I went from 170 to 130. I'm in so much fucking pain, so I'm like, will this eat the tumors out? I mean, that's all I care. Just get the pain. I'm telling my daughter, get the shotgun out of the closet and blow my fucking head off. I can't do this. You know? And so, Whitney, my beautiful personal nurse, I mean, they have a certain nurse that will just go right, Danish girl, wow. I mean, you can't make all this up. This Danish flight, I mean, that hospital is incredible. They have rounds. They meet every morning. They quarantine you in there. And so if I go in there, the first day, the second I go in there, 11/11, I go in there, I have this beautiful freaking caseworker named Greta, and she says, I'll be your liaison. I'll be, you know, babysitting you through this whole thing. And so into the, you know, they stand me up naked, beam me with these lasers all over my body, and this guy, he's like, Kevin, I've been working a lot. You're big and strong through the upper body. I said, yeah, I had that Hawk and Trail in my hand. He says, you're in incredible condition for your age. You're going to need every bit of it. Now, Vincent had told me, he says, the type of cancer is horrible in you, Kevin. He says, normally a guy your age I would send home to die. This is a bad cancer, but I have total hope in you because I've known you since you was a boy. And you're physical, you're intense, you're the type of guy I believe that you can be cured. He used the word cure on me and says, and, you know, I held on to that. He saved my life. And so I go in there, and then they put the central line in me. So they just lay you down. I mean, it's boom, boom, boom. Then they put a stent in they lumbar puncture on your lower spine. They like to go into your brain, too, injection, because they know the cancer tumors like to hide. They're tricky little fuckers. They like it behind your eyes. And so they put a lumbar puncture and they inject chemo in your lower spine. You know, it's horrible. And then they go in there, they wrap this around your collarbone and into your jugular. It's the biggest breakthrough in cancer treatment by millions of times. It's called the Hickman line. Dr. Peterson was at the University of Washington with him, the Fred unit, which is cutting edge, that broke through so much of this at the University of Washington that he knew it. Hickman wasn't even out of college. It's the biggest breakthrough. So Huntsman got through John. That's the only thing he did right. He did do that right. We got computer file sharing in Utah. We have it. There's computers in the room. So the nurses, and we have the #1 school of nursing in the world here at Weber State, my university. So we have incredible nurses, and they all have, by the way, the survival rate in there is very low because they take the hardest cases. But none of those girls ever quit. It's a very spiritual, amazing family in there. There was a huge group of us that went in there that we knew, a lot of our friends that are on these videos, and they've all died. It's a brutal treatment. They have these canisters inside the room. They're like when you go to the bank. They come in every morning at 3:30 and they dry these huge vials of blood down to this incredible pharmacy. They spin it, they argue your case, and then they hang everything on your tree. They kill you down and burn the pigment out of the eyes, blisters on my tongues. I mean, I went through puberty at least 12 times. I mean, it's brutal. Couldn't even stand up. You know, but I'm fighting. I'm like, I'm not going down fucking taking a call third strike. And I told Dr. Peterson about my dream. He's from Denmark, born and raised in Copenhagen. You know, he says, it's Danish, Danish philosophy of medicine. He says, oh boy, you hang on to that dream. I told him what Vincent said. You know, they knew my uncle, whatever, doesn't like me, but they respect the brilliant genius, Danish philosophy freaking guy. He says, you hang on. I believe in you, Kevin. They all believed in me. And they're hardcore in there. They don't fucking around. I've sat in the conversations. They tell you straight up. It's a brutal war. It's fucking, they put everything, and I want people to know, if you go in there and see, they do the rounds, and some people they can send home. Don't go home. Stay in there. I know it's quarantined, and they won't let anybody. It's hardcore. I had my radio, and I would sing in there, try one. I'm not puking, and I can't even watch TV. That's how fucking sick you are. It's beyond sick. You don't even comprehend the fuck. I cannot explain the pain and the epic. You know, I did a few videos while I'm in there when I was going in and out of coma. You know, Whitney's when they're praying for me. You got nurses tickling me, tickling my hands. Hang in there, hang in there. Old nurses, don't you give up, don't you give up. On every drug you could ever think. They said you can have anything you want. They have a protocol in there that on the computer. I went through that for a long fucking time. Almost exactly 9 months. I couldn't recover. My blood counts couldn't recover. I'd been RC squared so many times, and then I was scheduled for the bone marrow transplant. So the survival rate without the bone marrow transplant, the guy on the edge, is almost nothing. He's like, you're not even that. They found a match, you know, and they're like, you know, we can grow stem cells, but there was a guy named Brian Morris 5 years ago who had had the surgery. Same path, same bloodline, same path as me. Father died young, blah, 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 blah. They sent him home to die. The guy didn't die. He lived. So they says, we're going to pattern your treatment after him. We almost killed him with the chemo. They take you to the edge. But they have the computer file, and they have good nurses. And they had a float nurse one time, and I got an injection of Neupogen, and I call Balco in my stomach every day. You know, can't have it in the muscle tissue. She screwed up and gave it me there, but they're right there. Then the central line, kills a lot of people. I got 2 major infections in the central line. If I'd have been home, I'd have died. Quickly, major, bad, because that's what happens. And so they do I call it the ketchup bottles. 16 of those, 3 times over. These girls have to sit and do this on you. It's an incredible process these nurses go through. It is amazing. And then they break it down. They're so hardcore, they know exactly what it is. I was getting tubes of Vancomycin this fucking big twice a fucking day for a long time. I mean, I'm on hundreds of drugs in there. Had allergic reaction to one drug. It was so horrible. The nurses are up there. By the way, they wear rubber gloves even when they're tickling you and giving you back massages because so much chemo's flowing out of your body. You know, radioactive on Balco. You know, they wear the hardware ass, and, you know, I cannot say how much I love Whitney. I can't say how much I love those nurses, the little CNA. They collect all your bowel movement, all your urine. They bloat you full of water. They would bloat me full of fucking 13, 14, 15 pounds of fluid before they chemo to coat your organs, and then they put you on Lacey's. And I told the cook down there one day, I says, I finally figured out what you do with all this urine you collect. You make coffee out of it. You know, you're so sick in there. And I went through this, and I kept my activism going. I never stopped. You know, I went out of the room and walked and down in the memory grove and prayed against doctor's orders. But, you know, I had Fimbo believed in me. Vincent believed in me. I fought. I kept my intensity and which I know my anti-nuclear saved me. Hundreds of people sent me gifts, necklaces, free things I held. I had this beautiful necklace, this guy said. He says, I watched your fight. I was going to commit suicide, and I didn't. I lost it in Madison Square Garden. You know, hats, everything. I got so much love and care. Gwen Holdenberry, these spiritual healers, when I'm in there, in February 26, 2012, I'm dying. I'm still fighting Silent Offrey tooth and nail from there. I'm fighting freaking Blue Castle tooth and nail from my room when I could get healthy enough to even make a video. Trying to go through emails. I'm under attack by hundreds of rats, which are felonies. On YouTube, people attacking me, which are felonies to attack a person like that, which they did, and I have them. And, you know, you can keep doing because they think YouTube is this fairy tale, doesn't mean like what it's the greatest genre in human history. You can't attack a person in a wheelchair. It's a felony. You can't attack a person. These are felonies. Go ahead. But, oh, yeah, I guess maybe not. The Theodore Rico Act, fucking, I mean, it's outrageous. So I fought, and I says, I'm not quitting my activism. You know, I'm walking around with the central line. I'm walking around with fucking blood counts of 38 traveling. Lonnie Clark comes to me, you know how sick I am? Are you crazy? I went to Eugene, Oregon on the 2nd. I was so fucking sick. I can't believe the things I did. All of it. A lot of it, I had a central line hanging out of my fucking jugular. My Fukushima, I have 4 tattoos down me. Because they had to do a little bit of light, and they did. The only reason I agreed to do the light radiation on the tumors, where the tumors were, is Dr. Thompson. He had 40 years getting ready to. I was his very last patient. And I said, as long as you do it, you're doing it. So they put tattoos on you and went in there, you know, get a ring the bell. I was under treatment. It's a 5-year treatment program, and they know 85% of the time it just rears back up and kills you. I watch them. I never declare, and that's why my intensity in my fight with this YouTube site and everything so intense. So I never fucking like a laser fucking beam because I love life. I love my grandchildren. I love humanity. This is the fucking gift. This is survival. You know, I have my priorities straight. You know, I really always did. My beautiful, beautiful exes, who both, I mean, they're incredible girls. They left me because I am so pure in my activism. I wouldn't go with the fucking LA contemporized fucking popism of gone amok crowd. Not me. I'm connected with the earth, so I travel all over. I fight in an intense fucking incredible way in my path. Eat, sleep, fucking drink it. So my point is this. Keep your immune system bolstered. Live like you have cancer before you have cancer. Now, in the early diagnosis, if you have a tumor or whatever, you bring it up. Hey, what about being